Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so let's see. I got a big old mess to contend with down here. Oh, there we go. And there's that, and this, and hopefully the kitchen will prove to have better exposure. I don't know if this is actually live. It's like that, what, stream? And hopefully that's not too loud with all the clicking and clacking of... Come back. Okay, and I gotta plug shit in because... What? My phone was down to 10% charge when I got home, and now it's saying 19%. And I am heating up stuffed pepper that I made last week, but it has not passed the, what is it, 10-day, 14-day I don't know. I usually aim for 14 days with most leftovers, so about 2 weeks. Usually I date them using a grease pencil and masking tape. And I am not sure where my... oh, here. Ah! Ah! Okay, I found my beige masking tape that... I guess it's more of an ecru, perhaps? I don't know. It's light enough to read when I write on it with this thing. Oh, hi! Okay, people are able to watch. Sweet! Hello, Emerald Sturgeon. And I am... I was just... I'm testing this thing out, so apparently it does work. The last time I tried this app, when I was back down to under 1,000 subscribers, the previous time, I wasn't sure if it was actually doing anything or not, because while it was in theory a time when people should have been available, because I think it was a Sunday or something, I couldn't see if anybody was on. So did you know there is a black box? I did not know that. God damn it, it's doing that again. Okay, wait. Let me see if I can fix this. Hold on, because I saw something earlier. Okay, full preview. No, that's not what I want. Can we go... Next time long press anywhere. Okay, that's not helping me. Oh, this stuff. Wait. Okay. There was some... oh my gosh! Okay, so... Apparently, I did something to the settings. Or maybe I did not. Maybe I, Okay, I think I know what this might be. Hold on. editor. Let's see. Okay. Let's take that off. Delete. And let's okay, so let's put that there and that there and okay, was I able to fix anything? Did I fix it? Wait, enable draw on top in settings to show no, this is not going to do a web overlay. Editor. Okay, so apparently this is not a thing that I need, so we can delete that. And okay, did I get rid of this big black box that everybody was talking about? I'm gonna go put my belt up on the hook real quick. So, did I fix... Okay, we have a yes. All right! I fixed it. I fixed things. Okay, now what? I was going to be baking bread, but I've got a stuffed pepper in the oven that I made stuffed... I did do that, that recipe that was... And this is, this is a testament to, how things have been lately, because I haven't yet tossed this, for the recipe yet, but, I've got index cards to write my recipes down on, so, you know, I can do that while, doing stuff. Hold on, I'm gonna go get the, slow mode is on. I have no idea what that means. If it means that there's a lag in the bitrate or something, I know I adjusted it because I know there's only so much that my phone can handle. I know there's only so much that my phone can handle, so let me see if... No, that's not the thing I want again. Okay, so... auto-rotate... That's not what I wanted. Is it? Well, this... No, that didn't do anything. Settings... Okay. Okay, I'm not sure, why the lag. Of course, the one time I get notified of your stream at a decent time, I get a video. Oh, no! Oh, poor Argyle dinosaur. They are cursed. They are cursed. Wait, hey, you're on the screen. What does that mean? Does that mean you see your text box thing on the screen from the stream? Okay, I'm not sure. But, yeah, let me know. Like, yeah, because if that's what you meant by that, I don't know. I'll play around with settings on this at, another time, I suppose. But, yeah. Things. Wait. Okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm going back into the front room to... So, this is just like a little silver cup thing. I'm not sure what it was initially intended for, but it's sterling silver, so of course I seem to have this minor problem with hoarding silver. Like, there's the PTO thrift shop. They've got this they call it their showcase room, which, you know, is where they keep their antiques and higher priced items like cameras and, you know, stuff that would be a huge loss if somebody managed to walk off with it. So, but yeah, like that is like usually the first place I stop at the PTO shop in Ann Arbor, like, every time I'm doing the thrift shops on Industrial Highway. So yeah, I usually go to the showcase section first, and there are two ladies, like, whenever they're working the showcase room that day, they know exactly, like, to point me in the direction of maybe that's what slow mode is. Oh. Oh, okay, I think I know. Okay, I know what I did with that. I think that's in the YouTube settings, which I cannot access right now. I think that's where I would adjust that. I can't remember if it was like auto selected or something. Oh, this, yeah, it's from I think this was a shirt. Yeah, yeah. This is one's from Shirt Woot, so woot.com or shirt.woot.com. They do graphic tees by independent artists. You know, will do up a little, like, derby, they call it, to see whose design is going to end up as a shirt within the next some weeks. And then what happens? I don't remember after that. But yeah, it used to be like they would only be available for a week, and then there were some really popular designs that they kept around, like, in the top 10. So, like, the top 10 would be available every week as well, until they got demoted from the top 10. And now they're just, I guess they decided that there were enough people wanting it that that most of their designs, and I know it's not all of them because I've tried, but yeah, like, most of their designs are now print on demand. I think they always have stock of a bunch in that are in the top 10, and of course, like, the first run of every new t-shirt. Where was I? Oh, right. Bread. So I've done 2 recipes from this book, the Great Book of Bread. This is still, like, really dim. Ugh. Maybe I could have picked up that little, there's a little mini ring light that's supposed to clip onto your phone that I saw at Target. But then again, I could not really afford that at Target. So I've tried 2 recipes from here. One was the burger buns, and that failed spectacularly, but I'm not exactly sure why. And so I'm thinking I might want to try burger buns again. Probably not today, though. And so yeah, I also did not this one, not this one, not this one. Oh, I did the English cottage milk loaf, and I did it up like that a bit. So I to than I expected it. Your own bread, you have to either put it in the fridge, or it better be something itself, because it will get all sorts of little spores and not. Cups whole wheat flour. But I also have a bread flour that I think I want to try instead of oh, actually, this one. Okay, so we've got an oatmeal bread. It says it makes 1 large or 2 small loaves. Oh, it wants a loaf pan. I think I might have a loaf pan. Wait. Hey Shaker says hi. Argyle Dinosaur says hi. How's it going? Not much. First week back in over 5 years, 52 hours. Hey Shakers. Okay. Okay, yay. Everybody is chatting amongst themselves. So, let's see. Okay, so this wants a split amount of, flours. So, and plus, I have so much oatmeal due to the food pantry. I bought, 2 canisters of oatmeal. One was your standard roll. People do them. But I have not found a good recipe. The recipe that I keep and I know I've probably screwed myself over in this way by sticking with the same one that that comes up. Like, it's the first one that comes up every time, and it's on allrecipes.com, and it wants maple syrup, but because real maple syrup is so expensive, I use I use a log cabin pancake syrup that is made with brown rice syrup. So it's a brown rice syrup. It's vaguely maple-ish flavored. I use that instead just because it costs a lot less and it's not as heavy as corn syrup, but a little bit heavier than maple syrup. But every time I do it from that recipe, they never like solidify like they did when I was a kid, and my mother and I would make them. It's those cookies, those chocolate cookies, and you use peanut butter and you use oatmeal, and they're a no-bake cookie. I see them at Meijer periodically, but at Meijer they use a chocolate chip. They melt chocolate chips that have soy in them, so I can't have those ones from Meijer. I know I've seen them at Kroger once in a while too, and they're called like chocolate peanut butter fudge oatmeal no bake, something like that. If somebody can find me a recipe for those, and a recipe where they will solidify, because the recipe I keep using, because I'm a dumbass who like goes for the first recipe I can that comes up in a search, forgets that this was the same one that screwed me over the last time I tried these, and so uses that recipe, and then it's like, oh great, I've got like semi-solid cookies that are like, yeah. So if somebody can find me a recipe where they do solidify, like, drop it in my DMs on Twitter or something, because that would be great. I would love that. So let's see. This wants, let's see. Oh, 3/4 cup of a medium. What the hell is a medium oatmeal? Like, I don't get that. I don't understand this. This is silly. Okay, okay, so the thing calls for compressed yeast. I'm not sure what compressed yeast is, but the milk loaf I did, I just rather that. So the one of the reasons I think that the burger buns failed so spectacularly is because when I went to measure out the yeast, I looked up conversions for compressed yeast, and so like these were conversions by volume, and it suggested like 1 tablespoon equals like one whatever the measure was of compressed yeast. So I did it by volume, but I should have gone by weight, because compressed things work, it's by weight, right? So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that the burger buns just like failed so spectacularly. Like, I think I made hardtack. I think I accidentally made hardtack, but okay, it wasn't that bad, but it was. They were very not good. Like, they were almost inedible. Note I said almost, because I did have like 2, and that's when I gave up and decided I was just gonna use them. I was just gonna like use another one to make breadcrumbs for. I think it was burgers, because I do my burgers meatloaf style, I suppose you would say, just because well, you can stretch a little bit more out of your ground meat that way. So but yeah, so yeah, I just like took a couple of them to a box grater and was just like, fine, they're breadcrumbs now. They are they are breadcrumbs that took me so goddamn long to actually make. So yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try this one because it calls for it calls for 1 cup of bread or all-purpose flour, and then 1 3/4 cups whole wheat flour, and then 3/4 cups oatmeal. Okay, so I want to try this bread flour that I got, and oh wait, I was gonna check to see if I've got a loaf pan, because this wants it in a loaf pan, and I'm not sure I want to try doing it on a baking sheet. Seriously, ladder, we're doing this today. Ah! No! Stop! Bun pan, cupcakes, sheet cake, 8-inch brownie pan. That took me so goddamn long to find. I should do these this weekend. Hey! I do have a loaf pan! Have it? Of course. Let's see. I'll put the casserole right by its lid. Stay. Okay. Shush. Okay, so I do have a loaf pan. This does not say what. Oh wait, 8.5 by 4.5 by 2.5, or 7.5 by 3.5 by 2. So this is a 9 by 5. Hopefully this will be fine. So I've noticed, because I am one of those, dipshits who I'm really self-conscious about how I look when I eat, so what the hell happened? What just happened? Did I turn the camera around by accident? I did. Okay, sweet. So, because I'm one of those dipshits, I'm so self-conscious about how I eat, or more accurately, how I look when I eat. That is why I have, just double the batch to fill it. Well, it's only half an inch, all around, more than the recipe asks for, so I don't think doubling it is necessary. I just think it'll end up like a little, I think it'll just end up like a little bit, shorter. So, it'll end up like slightly shorter than the loaf in the picture. So, where was I going? So, yeah, I'm one of those dipshits who, I know I have issues about people watching me eat. Part of this is probably due to my home life as a child, wherein my, let's see, so I'm the only one out of my father's 3 kids who has never had nor ever needed to have gastric bypass surgery. I'm sure some people could argue that at my heaviest weight, which was 80 pounds ago, from where I am now, I've been able to maintain in the area of 180. I know that most people, their weight is going to fluctuate within a few pounds, and it's still considered maintaining. You can be up as many as 3 or 4 one day and then back down, and yet you still eat relatively similar amounts, etc., etc. So yeah, I know that within about 3 or 4 pounds either way, it's sure, that's maintaining for the most part, for most people, of course. So yeah, where was I going with this? Right. So because of some of my little peculiarities about eating, I know, or at least I am nervous that if I watched, say, Amberlynn Reed or the other one, Chantal, I think she's gone back to Foodie Beauty as her channel name. I know if I watched either of them directly, it might trigger me into an anorectic episode, because that is one of my responses to stress. In fact, my best ex, Scott, he will confirm that, if I am extra stressed out about anything, like if I am having a high stress week, I may indeed like forget to eat, most of that week. So he is aware of this. So yeah, I'm like, okay, with all the medications that I'm on, it is a good idea, for me to at least have, your basic like, at least 2 meals a day, ideally three, you know, small to moderate sized meals a day. That's about like where a person should be, right? So yeah, so I don't watch their videos directly, but I watch them through the reaction channels, or at least the people who do reaction videos to those two especially. I love Charlie Gold. She seems just like, I'm sure, I know that she will sometimes comment about how she can be bitchy at times, but she just seems like such a sweet, well, I genuinely believe that everything she says is coming from a place of genuine concern, and um like I get the impression that she grew up in one of those like kind of tough love households, um to some extent or another. I know she did a video saying that she was in foster care for a significant part of her childhood, but that's another story for another time. So where was I going with this? So uh, I had a place I was going with this. So I noticed from these videos that I guess Chantal, Foodie Beauty, whatever, she's done a couple videos of dumpster diving, and so I grew up with that. So like my dad, like his oldest sister remembered the Depression. She was a small child when it happened, but she was, she was old enough toward the last years that she definitely remembered it, and their parents never broke certain habits. One of which included like sending the kids out dumpster diving for things. Like even though my paternal grandfather had a pretty decent job at Anheuser-Busch, yeah, like great job for an alcoholic, right? But yeah, he had a decent paying job there. Their mother took in work as a seamstress for the neighborhood and stuff, like letting out and taking in children's clothes, or like women in the neighborhood, men in the neighborhood, like, so they had okay money, like it was a modest, like like lower middle class sort of income, I would suppose, maybe maybe mid to higher working class income. But yeah, like they never wanted for anything, but because, and part of that was because they never really broke certain habits during the Depression. So I grew up dumpster diving. Like that's what my dad and I did. That's, well, more often he did it with my younger sister, just because I was always a bit of a priss. I was, and yet my dad, it's clear he knew about the whole thing. So he knew about that. I really suspect this. I have one of these days I'm going to like do a little point by point thing about like how I'm pretty sure my dad knew. But that's another story for another time. So yeah, apparently dumpster diving is a trend on YouTube lately. But this, I found my walk. Like this is a beautiful walk. In fact, like it doesn't look so great right now because I put it on, like last time I basically did like a cheater paella sort of thing. I got a thing of like various seafood bits on sale at Whole Foods. Oh wait, no, I think Amazon Prime sent me like some kind of coupon toward Whole Foods, so that was nice. But yeah, so I did up some rice and some of the I threw the seafood in there, and I did let's see, I looked up the main spices in paella, and I want to say about the previous month at Whole Foods, they had saffron on sale 2 for $5 in like a little thing about like yay, so a little bit bigger than a quarter, and definitely a good like couple grams of saffron. And I know that you want to at least powderize some of that for, so I was just like, fine, I'm gonna do paella, and I'm gonna do it in my wok. So the last time I did that, like I didn't do the best, like actually I just kind of like put it back up on to its space up on top of the fridge because it was taking up space in the sink. So that's why it's not looking so great right now. But I found this walk dumpster diving. Like none of the nonstick coating has rubbed off at all. It is a beautiful, usable walk. And somebody, I think it was a yeah, I've had this a little over a year. I want to say I got it sometime during the summer, and I want to say it was from the dumpster for my building. So it was probably a student who just didn't want, forgot to pack it or something moving out of the building. So yeah, this was like one of my favorite dumpster dived things that I ever found. It was this beautiful, like, oh god, that's like what, like a 12, 13-inch walk, and I know I need to wash it, but I'm going to put it back up here so that I have room to make bread, as I wanted to do this. So let me just, okay. Emerald was reminding me to use the oats. That's great. No need to double the batch. Oh no, I hope things get better for Hay Shaker. I do too! I know I don't, like, watch so much at the little chat things when these go through. I just kind of like go off on my own tangents, but I really do appreciate everybody who tunes in and everything. Whoa, that's really jumping into feet first. Oh, yay. Okay. Emerald's got a lot of training at their job, so, okay. My loaf pan is basically the size I need. Yeast. I would fold up the ladder right now, but Murnau is on the top step that is not like the little ledge they give you to put a can of paint. Okay, lukewarm water there. Oh wait, I do need to fold up the ladder.
Please move. Please move. Oh, I know.
He was on the ladder, but I gotta put him off the ladder because my yeast is in the fridge. I thought my yeast was in the fridge. Seriously? Okay, let's see. Suet over there. Cheese over there. My horseradish over there. More cheese. Oh, there's my yeast.
Ah! No, come back to me, other stuffed pepper.
Oh, right. I've got the thing in there. Let me get both. And let me get a bowl. Stay. So. Oh! Son of a bitch. Oh, hooray. Okay. I forgot that I put my breakfast dishes on top of a box of cat litter, so thankfully nothing is broken. Glass swizzle sticks. Yeah, thankfully nothing is broken. It just, like, fell like 18 inches. I would have been crushed if my French press carafe ended up broken, but thankfully it is fine. So, yeah, nothing broke. I'm actually, like, am really impressed that nothing broke. Yeah, like, my French press carafe is fine. My, I would not have minded if the jam jars that I use for, glasses for, like, like my almond milk or my cranberry juice. I would not have minded if those broke because, you know, they're just like little, like one's an 8-ounce, one's a 4-ounce jam jar. And so I get them. You know, like if I wanted to replace the 8-ounce one, just like go to the farmer's market or at least empty one of the jams in the fridge. If I wanted to, like if the 4-ounce one broke, I would just go get another cheddar pimento spread or something, the craft branded ones, because it comes in like, actually I think it's like just under like a 5-ounce glass, but that's really like, that's honestly like the a glass of juice was, you know, considered to be like 4 ounces of juice was considered fine. Like that was considered like standard for, especially with breakfast. Like juice was the dessert of breakfast until I want to say the late 50s when the citrus growers really lobbied for subsidization and in order to encourage people to basically consume more oranges, if only through orange juice. Like that's when you started seeing this all. This is supposed to be the dessert of breakfast. If you don't add additional sugar, like the natural, especially with orange juice. Like orange juice is one of the biggest offenders of having additional sugars added, just because of the way that, you know, just because of the way that juicing and, you know, like in order, yeah, and storing it like in these, you know, big containers. So like if you're gonna have juice with your breakfast and it's gonna be orange juice, ideally you want to pick yourself up a citrus ream, which I've got. This one was from the Ann Arbor the Recycle Ann Arbor Reuse Center. So this is an antique leaded glass citrus ream. I held out on getting one until I could find one of these. Oh my gosh, I love these. So like I've had recipes where I've had to, like, you know, that have called for like fresh squeezed juice. Like when I got a whole bunch of limes from the food pantry that one time. So I just sat there just like juicing limes with my fists because I'm just like, no, I'm not going to get a citrus ream. Like, I'm not going to go out and buy one at Kroger. Like, yeah, sure, I can get one in red or something, and it'll go with the rest of my kitchen stuff. But I'm like, no, I want one of those, like, good old leaded glass ones that, you know, is not only older but might even be older than my father was. It might, you know, it'll outlast me as long as it doesn't, like, fall and shatter. And, you know, like, these old leaded glass ones, like, I don't know, like, you gotta put in some effort to break them about half the time. The other half the time, you know, you just got lucky, I suppose. So, where was I? Right, bread. Ugh. Why does this want so much stuff? And it's not even all that much stuff. So, let's see. Compressed these lukewarm water. So, let me get that in, so I'm about yay close to, so I put up this, this Facebook event with, you know, for my friends and stuff, inviting, you know, people over for, Thanksgiving, like I've done every year since I've moved into this place. But, so far, nobody has RSVP'd yes, which, this close in, I'm like, okay, today's the 16th, so I've got another 10 days. I'm not expecting anybody to RSVP yes at this point. Like I said, I might get another maybe or two. Like, and what's that gonna give me? Like, nobody can plan around a maybe. But yeah, where was I going? Set to give me a reminder every other week to call my aunt, because Catholic upbringing plus ADHD, right? Exactly. So yeah, I've got it set to remind me to call my aunt tomorrow, and I figure, I will ask my aunt if, 'cause even though she's out in Livonia, I think I'll ask her if she wants to give me a ride to, my sister's place in Tecumseh, which I'm not completely looking forward to, but it will give me sufficient time to at least, as long as I crack down on myself to complete them. If Aunt Karen, yes, I have a legit Aunt Karen. Like, that is her name. Actually, it's Karon, Karon, because, my maternal, no, my paternal grandmother was kind of a rebel that way. Um, so yeah, I've, Catholic here too, baptized, communed, and confirmed. I went as far as my first communion. I never had confirmation because my dad didn't want to push it because he'd seen, kids who would, be, who would pretty much be forced into it, and a lot of times, like, they would find subtle ways to be obnoxious, so as, like, not to completely embarrass the family, but to, like, make just enough of the congregation, whisper. And, like, our family was weird enough, so, like, we were already one of those families. Um, at, I think when we moved to Tecumseh, we went to, I don't remember. I think my dad went to, I think it was a St. Mary's. I I don't remember exactly where in Lenawee County. I'm pretty sure it wasn't exactly in Tecumseh or Adrian either. I think it was a little bit out of the way just because he liked their mass a little better. I'm not sure. But I went to Meeting House in Ann Arbor, like Quaker Meeting House with my stepmother instead. So he wanted me to do like, a Sunday service, yeah, because the fact that I was getting into paganism more enthusiastically around the age of 12 and 13, that kind of freaked him out. So, he gave me an ultimatum that if I wanted to remain in good standing with him, I would go either to mass with him or I could go to Meeting House with my stepmother. So I went to Meeting House. Like, Quakers are fine. Now excommunicated. Yay! I've never been officially excommunicated because I've never been officially confirmed. So yeah, like I went as far as First Communion. So, what was that? Right. Hi. Hi.
What you doing?
Noodle. Yeah, I love you.
Yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do.
I love Little Murnau. He's a pain in my ass, but I love him anyway. He is. He's a big pain in the butt. Like, I have had cats who I thought were annoying before, and he's probably the he's probably number one in that category now. Oh my gosh, raise Salvation Armies. So I was dedicated, never have been baptized, been a practicing witch for 24. Nice. Oh my gosh, my mother worked at the Salvation Army rehab clinic, like it was a live-in rehab center in Toledo, Ohio, and uh, it was a trip and a half. Like they knew that my dad's side of the family was Catholic, and so that's how the kids were raised. And my mother's side was Church of England, but in the States Episcopal. Though my maternal grandparents often attended Catholic services because they preferred it to American Episcopalian services. So so yeah, like basically Catholic on both sides. It's just like, one was Catholics who regarded the Queen as the head of their church. So, so like, yeah, Anglo-Catholic. I see that term bandied about a bit. Where Anglicans, Church of England are a bit more on the Catholic side because Church of England, so Anglicans or Episcopals in the U.S. It's a structure that is both Catholic and Protestant, and So yeah, but yeah, like if you ask Catholics, they would say that like Anglicans, Episcopals are just straight up Protestant. There's because they're not because they're not Roman Catholic. Um, but if you ask somebody who's like officially like Church of England, Anglican, Episcopal, they would say like, especially if they're like really like hardcore, members of that church, it is clear that like they will like explain in minute detail how it's simultaneously both Catholic and Protestant. So so yeah, that's a thing, and a lot of people don't realize that. Charles is now. Oh wait, did the Queen die? Did she finally pass? Because I don't know. I've been kind of joking in my head that she's gonna stick around until William is the next in line because uh just because like she has been around for forever, or did she just like pass down the head of the church to Charles? Because I think I would have heard by now if she had actually passed. I think somebody would have like messaged me immediately if the Queen had indeed passed. Oh gosh. But yeah, I've kind of sort of convinced myself that she is sticking around until like there's not going to be a divorcee who's next in line for the crown. I always got the impression that she was incredibly disappointed with Charles for that. um, okay, so water is warming up on the stove. I've just got it sitting on the stove. Oh, passed down to him. My father is an Anglican preacher. So okay, that makes some sense, but yeah, I still kind of have this thought in my head that she is not willing to die until William is the next in line for the crown, because I don't know. There's something about her. There is something about her where I genuinely think that she is like the most disappointed in Charles for that marriage falling apart and everything. And I know there's just something about her. There's something about her. I've never like stood in one of those like stood by one of those motorcades when I was in London with my sister and my brother-in-law. Well, my other sister, the one of the ones who died. So yeah, I never stood by a motorcade to like shake hands with the Queen or even like see their car pass by, because like many like many British people, especially Hong Kong British people, because my brother-in-law grew up in Hong Kong. He's Han Chinese, so yeah, he grew up in Hong Kong when it was still British, and we before that with his family out there, just because he knew it was gonna be a trip and a half just trying to go visit his family if he didn't do this. Like he was in have this oh yeah, about the Queen. Oh my gosh, I'm sure she is like doing whatever she can to. There's just something about her. There's just something about her that strikes me as somebody who is like beyond disappointed in this. Like she just there's just something about her that strikes me that she is just incredibly disappointed with Charles for like getting a divorce and marrying his mistress, and it's just like no, you don't do this when you're royalty. Like this is why yeah, that's why. Oh shit, which Edward, the one in the beginning of the 20th century, because there was that Edward, and he pretty much they pretty much like had him like he did not finish out like he did not die king, because he got a divorce and he married Wallis Simpson, I believe, was the woman, and she was also a divorcee herself, and she was American of all things as well. And he pretty much relinquished the crown to his eldest, or whoever was next in line. I forget who was next in line. But yeah, like so like for the longest time, I thought because of his divorce, Charles was not next in line for the crown anyway. But I got corrected on that only just a couple of years ago. I was like looking up like who's next in line for the Windsor crown in the UK, and apparently it is Charles. Apparently it is, because for the longest time next in line for the crown because he's been divorced. That's what I genuinely thought. So, yeah. Like I'm still like I still find it very difficult to believe this, even though everything I've looked up um says that he is. Like I'm just like, no, there's some way that he can't honestly like be legit next in line for the crown. That just seems so weird at this point. But okay, so let's see. Whole wheat flour, and I got whole wheat flour yesterday. And get my big ass mixing bowl. And I've got my unbleached bread flour, which, yeah, I got like the expensive King Arthur branded stuff. Baking with Joyce in 1790. So yeah, I got that because there was an Ibotta rebate for it, and the rebate has renewed itself. So when my food stamps, all of $100 until until Tuesday. So, oh, we've got a recipe on the back for whole wheat bread. That's nice, I suppose. But where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. Where did I put my yeast? I put it somewhere, right here in front of me. That's an interesting place for it to be. So yeah, like I really need to go to the DHS office, um, and and go with my see my caseworker's supervisor, because she actually knows what she's doing. So, oh, there's oh, that's garbage. It's cheap, and like unlike my good Mediterranean sea salt, um, it's not like I don't need a texture thing or something with it. And unlike my Jane's Crazy mixed up salt, it doesn't have all sorts of other seasonings in it as well. Okay, so oh right, oatmeal. What the hell is medium oatmeal? Like, okay, I've got my vegetable oil there. I've got another thing of iodized salt. Why do I have two? That's weird. Oh, well, this one is still new, so I will put this away on my baking shelf of my pantry. So, let's see. I need to go back in that direction for oatmeal anyway. So, oatmeal is over there, salt is here, vegetable oil there, and oatmeal for dusting is way back here. Way back here. Okay, so I can put that there. So I'm gonna use the old-fashioned whole grain oats instead of the oats, and I know that quick oats are somehow treated so that they, or maybe partially cooked so that they cook up faster. I don't remember exactly how they're done up so that they cook up faster, but yeah, stuff. Okay, so crumble yeast into the warm water and leave for 3 to 4 minutes. Stir until yeast is completely dissolved. So, oh, yep, that water is All right. It says 3/4 ounce. So I'm gonna eyeball it because it doesn't have like the portions of an ounce. This is a fairly basic kitchen scale, so I'm gonna try to aim for just a little under an ounce because that's the thing that I can read. Seriously? I need this much yeast? Come on, yeast. Come on! Oh my god, seriously? This much yeast. This much yeast. Really? This is nuts. For fuck's sake. Okay, I'm starting to see the edge of the 1 ounce mark, so I don't remember exactly um why they want you to refrigerate it after opening. I probably should have marked what date I opened this because it's been a while and it says refrigerate and use within 6 months after opening, so I'm just gonna hope that they don't evolve. Because I know yeast are some kind of organism. I've seen, like, I know Elton Brown on Good Eats. He refers to them as some kind of critter. That's not 100% true. They are some kind of organism though, but it's they're in this weird little category of, like on the life chart. Like they're definitely not plants. Um, Fungi are considered something that is plant-like, but also has certain qualities that animals typically have. So, like, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So yeah, fungi are not exactly plants. They're in their own thing. So, we are baking bread, Night Shift Sister, and oh, hey Shaker, you've okay. You take care, hon. I'm sure I missed that. Medium oats are basically porridge oats. Okay, I guess that makes sense, but I'm just gonna hope that these old-fashioned oatmeal thing. I'm gonna hope and that's not gonna screw things up royally. Like that time I tried making burger buns and did not use sufficient yeast. Or at least that was one of the problems anyway. I also think that using all-purpose flour was probably not the best idea for burger buns. I probably should have used some combination of bread flour and maybe, I don't know, I don't know. I know that they were just like so hard and dense and they barely rose at all, and I'm like, I screwed up. I screwed up something. It was barely edible. They basically turned into like the most difficult breadcrumbs I've ever made. uh, oh, I'm sure I'll be fine. I just feel bad when like somebody like goes and like has to go and do things and live life, or at the very least go to bed, and I missed it. Catholic guilt, right? Okay, so yeast is doing its thing over there on the stove while everything's a big mess in the kitchen, and that's the thing. So like part because like I've part got it in my head, just because like um people are checking maybe because it's a coward's no in this day and age, um and so I'm like, I'm probably just gonna cancel the my typical annual Thanksgiving gathering just because, like I said, like it's about a week and a half away. I would like to think my friends are the kinds of people who would not just string me along trying to figure out how much food I should make and all of that. So I'm just gonna like see tomorrow if my aunt is good with giving me a ride to my last living half sister in Tecumseh, and her mom and her daughter, and if if my aunt Karen is good with that, then I'll just go do that instead, and hopefully in that time I will have made up at least 2 scarves, because I started on 1, and then I realized, wait a second, I'm doing a Tunisian stitch with this, and I totally needed more yarn for this, but the yarn I started it with, it's actually kind of expensive, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to like go and get another skein of this. So I went and got a cheap skein, and I'm like, I was just gonna do like something out of a pattern, and hopefully it'll end up nice. So let's see, mix the flours together with the oatmeal to please be back here. Yes, hooray! Really? Why are we stuck? Oh, right. I keep... Ugh. Okay. So, I need to clean up and then hopefully unload this on somebody. It's a battery charger. It is a high-speed battery charger, which I kind of like, but like it'll charge up to 4 double A's in about half an hour, maybe a little more when it's all 4 of them filled in, but I prefer this one because it can take C and D cell and 9 volts, and I have found rechargeable C and D cell and 9 within 4 hours. 3.5 to 4 hours, it says. I just put it in there and go to bed, and I'm sure I drained some life out of those, out of some batteries that way, because, like they were sitting in the charger way longer than they should have. But, with this one so basically, like this one, it accommodates more batteries, but it's better for my lifestyle, which is, I'll just plug in the rechargeable batteries before I go to bed. So, because that way when I wake up, I've got fully charged batteries to put in whatever thing I needed them to charge up for. So, but yeah, the half-hour one, that's just like, I don't need my batteries charged that fast. So, let's, oh, there's a quarter cup one. Okay. So I'm gonna sift the flours together just because it's, just because that way it'll be mixed in a lot easier, and the oatmeal I'll just stir in with a fork. So, let's see, 1 cup bread or all-purpose, so I'll use the bread flour, and Heimer now, why are you being in my way again? I thought we went over this little noodle. Oh. Isaac hated the little nicknames I gave to the cats, and I'm like, why do you care? Right? Like, that alone should have been enough to tip me off that there was something wrong with the boy. That should have tipped me off if the boy ain't right. But yeah, like, I'm like, why does he object to the nicknames I give the cats? Like, really, like, that is so inconsequential to life in general. And plus, like, it's like cats. Like, any pet, you gotta give your pet like 100 goofy nicknames. That's how they know you love them. Or at least how they know that you're a crazy person, which if you're giving your cat nicknames, then maybe there is something to be said about that. Yeah. I need to get a couple other canisters. So I've got a canister for flour, but that's where I put the AP when, that's where I put the AP. It holds exactly 5 pounds of all-purpose flour. I love it. Really? But with other kinds of flours, I should probably have a couple other canisters at the very least. But I really love my vintage I don't know, like kitchen staple canister set that I've got the all-purpose flour, and of course I've got bread flour all over the counter, because that is just my life. That is how you know I'm, like, that's, I like to joke that, you know, like, you know, real hardcore baking, you end up with like half the flour all over the counter, but that's okay. That's how you know it's gonna be good, or at least halfway edible, as was the case with my my failed burger buns. My poor burger buns. Oh wow. So yeah, my sister Ruby gave me like an open invite, said come anytime and you can stay as long as you want. I'm like, woman, I got 3 cats. Like, while in theory I could stay as long as I want, the cats have yeah, the cats will have other ideas about this. You're not making right until you make a mess. Yes. Like, my grandmother always said that, like my maternal grandmother, because she was the only one I really knew. My dad's parents, like my dad's father died like on July 25th, the year before I was born, and my birthday is the 22nd. So my dad kind of exaggerated a little bit. He said that his dad died a year to the day before I was born, but I looked up the record just because I was curious one day, like actually like a few months ago was the first I saw of that. But yeah, I looked up the record and it's like no, almost. I think my dad just wanted to make it all spooky and shit. But where was I going? But yeah, and my paternal grandmother, she died when I was about 3, and it's really easy for me to remember that because my my older sister on my dad's side, so that would be Ruby. She's the one who's still alive. Like my only sibling who's still, well, I've only got sisters, so my only sister that's still alive. She is 7 years my senior, and her first name was chosen after our paternal grandmother's first name, and then what happened? 1 teaspoon salt. Is this my... No, this is the half teaspoon, but I was using it almost undrinkable. So I would recommend, if you're gonna get the unsweetened cranberry juice, it's like, that's my juice glass in the morning, is a 4-ounce glass. So like, I would recommend for a 4-ounce glass, probably like a 1/4 teaspoon of sugar really helps it. It's not so sweet. It's, you know, like just like the stuff that you usually get in the can or frozen, but it's just sweet enough that it's, I don't know, that's just something I've come to with age a bit, I guess. But yeah, I was going somewhere with this, with my, oh right, so yeah, my my grandmother on my dad's side and his sisters were not expecting their mother to make it another, 5 years, or at least this was what the doctor told them, that, like, she had like maybe a couple more years, 5 if she's lucky. The woman lived another 10 years. So after her, or at least the first name was after her. The middle name was because my dad named his daughters after himself. Like, I'm his only boy, granted, in one of the most roundabout ways possible, but I'm his only boy, but I'm also the only one who was never named after him. Like, not even, like, dead named after him, right? So yeah, like I said, like, I'm the only one my dad did not name after himself. If I was not his son in the most roundabout way, he would have named me, the name I have anyway, which was after not his father, but his father's younger brother, who died in childhood from scarlet fever, but that was the 1920s when not only scarlet fever was more common, but dying from it was more common. Um, so yeah, where was I going? So yeah, that's how I remember that I was 3 when my paternal grandmother died, because my dad and my aunt have both said many times that our grandmother, well, my grandmother, their mother, was too stubborn to, die when her oncologist, is that the cancer doctor? Because she had the tumor, just because of how it had metastasized or whatever. I'm not. But she lived another 10 years after they after her last surgery. So yeah, that's how I remember that I was 3, because if Ruby is 7 years my senior, then that would have made me 3 when she died. So, because it would have made Ruby 10. Okay, make a well. I don't know why they want you to make a well every time, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Maybe it's just to get flour all over your hands, so that people know that you're making bread. Oh no! Argyle Dinosaur's going to bed! Good night! Good night, my friend! Argyle Dinosaur and I have been talking, like, we want to do some kind of collaboration, but it's going to have to be sometime when they can have, some time off work to come visit me here, or I'm going to have to get together some money to go up to, I can't remember if they're in I think it's the Grand Rapids area, but, I'd have to take a train out there. It would have to be a weekend to make it worth anything. Let's see, Night Shift Sister, it's 10:30 p.m. where you're at. Oh, it's about 10:32 for me, too, so, let's see, just finished cleaning house, having a glass of wine, and watching the bread happen. Yay! It's about time where Argyle Dinosaur needs to toddle off to bed, and we will hopefully have a very good night. So, yeah, of course, Argyle Dinosaur, and I, vaguely talked about maybe collaborating on something, but we weren't exactly sure what. All the way in the thumb. Wait. So, wait, the thumb is where Detroit is. Like, the thumb is the peninsula over Detroit, because Detroit's right about here, and I remember that because, Windsor... my friend Susie did a comic about this one time, about how Windsor is Canada's Wang that's asking Michigan to give it a handy. Susie's from Canada, so, this was all her. All the way in the thumb, but yeah, so that's gonna be what, Bay City or something? I don't know, but if you're up in the thumb, that's because Grand Rapids is up in this general direction, and this is how it is on, I think this is how, I don't know, are you able to read my shirt? Because if you're able to read it and it's not backwards for you, but it's backwards for me, so if you're able to, if it's not backwards for you, then, so then, yeah, this would be, so, Grand Rapids is somewhere around here, and Detroit's around here, and there's actually a story about how Detroit is no longer Michigan's capital city, and I need to do a video, dedicated to that in specific, just dedicated to that, but I can give you the story about it right now, because people have asked me, especially because I briefly lived in Lansing with my best ex, who, he and I are still good friends, but it's, I don't know, we used to date, yep, and long story short, he and I just, we wanted 2 different things out of life, and we wanted, we both just wanted 2 different things out of life, long story short, and, but, it was one of those situations where, if we don't stay friends, then it's because one of us screwed up royally, because you can't put in together, a combined, 10 years and raising 3 cats together, 2 guys can't put together, 10 years and 3 cats together and not stay friends unless one of them screwed up bad. And in fact, my aunt said that about like her and her ex-husband. That like, yeah. I said, yeah, that's just like if it's one of them, if only so that like the kids don't feel like there's a huge family drama involved. So yeah, mix the flours together with the salt. Oh, add the oil and the yeast liquid. Okay, so how much? Okay, so 2 tablespoons oil. I hope that they don't want you to do it like in order of, you know, things, because I know with chocolate chip cookies, I screwed up a couple batches of chocolate chip cookies in my childhood because, well, one of them, the recipe was just written the church that her family went to growing up, even too. But you know, so yeah, it was like her book, and all of that. And in theory, she should have known to, you know, like, because it was hers, like, you know, like make little notes in the margins at the very least on the recipes if something is written badly, because the chocolate chip cookie recipe that we always referenced, you know, from her book, the one time, well, at least the first 2 times I tried making it by myself because my mother let me, because I was like 8 and we'd been baking forever together at that point, so like she knew I wasn't going to set the house on fire. Like the first couple of times I messed up and my mother said, you didn't add the chips last. You're supposed to add them last. And I pointed to the book and I said, the book says to just combine all ingredients and then, like, you know, mix them well and then put them for this. So let's see. Then mix to a firm but workable dough. Okay. Wait. What, how did... Oh, this wanted at the 450. Okay. Ugh. Because my oven was at 350 for reheating my stuffed burger, which I have not eaten yet. But that's okay. Turn on floured surface and knead firmly until smooth. Well, on the good side, the counter is already floured because of how baking works. I often feel like I should bake more often, but then I remember that, like, how much work it is, and I'm like, do I really want to put in all that work? But it does often end up, you know, being much, much tastier than what I get at the store, so it's like, yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. But then I'm lazy. Like, left to my own devices, I'm a lazy, lazy boy. Okay. Alright, we're starting to become a dough here. Not all of it is... Like, we've still got some flour bits in the bottom in powder form. Okay. Okay. So, let's see, because I forgot to wipe down the, well, the usable portion of the counter before I did this, because I'm a dumbass. Take out a sheet of baking paper. Hey, get back here, baking paper. Thankfully, the folded inside of it did not touch the floor, so, and even if it did, it's my bread. None of you are eating it. Watch me be a. This is not exactly. There we go. Okay. And 1, 2, flip. There we go. Ha ha! Alright. Yep. Now. And to read things. It's okay. I got that you were trying to spell it. Oh, the Mithran of Mirkwood. It's hard for some people for some reason. Try to hit the first time, but it didn't show up. Is the dark side having cookies this evening? No, it is not gluten-free. This is whole wheat and oatmeal bread. It's, according to the book I got, it's allegedly based on a Scottish recipe, so, like, I don't know why I'm not, like, crumbling into mist being, Irish on my dad's side. Well, maybe it's because longest, arguably most functional failed relationship was with a guy who was Scottish on his dad's side. And largely French on his mother's side. Not just regular French, but French-Canadian. And she is also distantly but traceably related to Alice Cooper. And that has to do... I figured this out, like, through their last name, which his mother's side... Like, her maiden name was, Fournier, with an O, whereas Alice Cooper, his side, his French, on his dad's side was the Huguenot side of the family, who spelled it Fournier, with a U. So, the Fourniers, stayed Catholic, but the Fourniers, went Protestant. So yeah, it's distant but traceable, so, yeah. I could have married into Alice Cooper's family if Scott and I could have made it work. Very distant cousins, of course, but yeah, it's, I was entertained to learn that, because I was curious that, you know, because her maiden name was just so similar to Fournier, you know, which is Alice Cooper's, I don't think he's legally changed it to Alice Cooper, so that would be his, at the very least, his original name. Like I said, I don't remember if he legally changed it, you know, if only for business, but yeah. His original name was, Vincent Damon Fournier, or, yeah, Fournier. And, like I said, the side of the family that stayed Catholic, went with, Fournier. Mithran of Mirkwood. I am from Canada, so honored that the bread has some Canadian connections. Yeah, very vaguely. Like I said, my best ex, Scott. In fact, his paternal grandmother, so Scott's paternal grandmother, was Scottish. And but yeah, his, dad's family name, so his dad's name, is, I know there are some who, will, argue that, not sure that it is indeed actually of Pictish origin, just because, you know, like, colonization kinds of stuff. But, so yeah, this is supposed to, be allowed to rise for about an hour. Hopefully this will keep going, and, because I need to tighten the springs on that, but...
Ah! No! Stop!
Okay, so now it is time for me to do some dishes, because that is one of the most dreaded parts of cooking and baking, but it has to happen. I'm gonna put my flowers away real quick. Why is there not much room on the baking shelf? Probably because I start so many things and then get distracted halfway through. Okay. Really? We're doing this today? I usually have condiments down here. What is this? Is this a tea? This is hibiscus. Yes, that is a tea. Really? I've got another one of these started? What the fuck? Okay. Hello, Murnau. He's lounging on the recipe book. Yeah, I love my goddamn copper gelatin molds. They're wonderful. And beautiful and fabulous, and I am one of very few people I know who genuinely enjoys. I know what fell. It's a bottle of hot sauce that I don't know why I ended up putting so many condiments on the shelf with all of my baking. And this is garbage. Why is this still out? I don't know, because I'm lazy. Okay, I did clean this well enough. Okay. But, yeah, I'm one of few people I know who is, like, very unironically in love with, like, mid-20th century gelatins. I don't know why. They're just so... This is something, like, those things are just, all of the various fanciful, filled gelatin molds is just such a thing that could have only come from a very specific place and time, if that makes any sense to anybody else. It's like, these only could have happened in the mid-20th century in the United States, because, and here's the thing, is there were actually like a few waves of fad for them, because, and the first one started in the late 1920s, early 30s, thereabouts, because that was when the electric refrigerator started to replace the icebox as a method of, like, you know, home food preservation. So, you know, and because, like there were, like, people could, in theory, make, gelatins that would, you know, like, fully firm in an icebox, but they tended to take up so much space, and you would have to, and they would take so much longer just because of the nature of an icebox, an electric refrigerator. So they would take so much longer, and it was, and because it was at your parties, and, you know, so, like, for the longest time, they would be, like, relegated to, like meat aspects, or, you know, or desserts, and, so yeah, like, they would take so much time just because of the nature of an icebox that it's like the home electric refrigerator was, like, when that started to replace the icebox in the late 1920s and early 30s, in fact, like, in metropolitan areas, so, like, in, like, actual cities, the refrigerator had basically replaced the icebox by the beginning of 1930. It was only in rural areas that the icebox stayed around, well into the 60s. So so yeah, like a refrigerator for the earliest part of its existence, the electric refrigerator was like kind of a status symbol, and then as it began to gradually replace the icebox, like there were trends. The trend around like years. So like troll dolls and the like, like fads have always been on this like 15 to 20 year cycle. Like fads, like especially something like that, like troll dolls, for example, as I said. I think I said that, or maybe I was just thinking it, but like, there's a lot of fads that will just like be on this 20-year cycle, and gelatin molds for most of the 20th century were one of those things that would be on this 20-year cycle of being a fad. And like I said, they really, like the first big wave of them as a fad, like, the gelatin molds with various things suspended in them. That first wave of them being a fad, that was early 20th, that was like mid 1920s. And I've got books on gelatin molds. I've got recipe books on gelatin molds. My oldest one is from 1918, I believe. They're right behind me on the double boiler. Hold on a sec. Okay, Julia Child, Home Canning and Freezing Guide. Okay, yep. The new Jell-O Book of Surprises, Desserts, Salads. I'm not sure, like, if this is as dim for me, for you guys as it is for me. So, okay, that's... Really? We're not going to have a year on this thing? Is it on the back? Of course it's not on the back. That might be useful to me. But, oh my gosh. Wait, what was this one? Corned beef loaf. Corned beef loaf. In gelatin. And, ugh. I love how this was bright for like a whole minute. But we can see from the illustration, this is definitely early to mid 1920s, and we can tell that because of the then trendy finger waves in her hair on the illustration. Let's see. So that's early 20s. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Knox Gelatin, dainty desserts, salads, candies, and we are assuming a very liberal. Oh wait, this is Yeah, this is 1927. Never mind. I thought this one was older than that. But that's it's a very interesting. Why won't this thing let me have the light from the camera itself on here? I don't know. Pet dried milk. Better meals with gel. Yeah, this is 1950s. Party snacks. How to reduce and stay reduced. Fish is Delicious by Richard Sam, of course. Hamilton Beach food mixer with mix guide. This is not my mixer, but my mixer is a good 10 years older than the manual is, and ooh, how did this one tear? I don't know. So yeah, I've got a lot of like early to mid 20th century promotional cookbooklets, manuals for various kitchen appliances and all that. I just love them. Like the mid 20th century was just this bizarre time as far as cooking and all of that went. It was just this. It was just such a weird thing. It was just such a weird thing, especially the gelatins. Love your molds. I was lucky enough. Recommend a bit rate. That won't help me. Will this help me? Settings. That's the streaming platform. Settings. No. No. Okay, broadcast settings. Output resolution. Expected frame rate. Max video bit rate. Okay, let's try 2500 kbps. God damn it, fruit fly. Okay. Whoa. Wait, did somebody, like, super chat me $10? Oh, actually, the Kit Kat, that actually does work, but the batteries are running low, so the tail doesn't move right now, but the clock still cycles. I just need to replace the batteries because it's still got non-rechargeable batteries. So yeah, but yeah, the clock works. The clock absolutely works. Oh my gosh, did somebody like super chat me $10? Wow. I'm flabbergasted. I know I'm probably sounding like a jackass right now, but I don't know how to respond to that. Thank you so much. Yeah, hello, dear fellow Darkling. We both are baking tonight. Oh yeah, I enjoy baking. I really do. It's one of those things where like I kind of forget how much I enjoy it because I know it takes like so much time and prep and all of that. But once I so I kind of like talk myself out of it periodically. Like when I'm in the mood sometimes, but I end up talking myself out of it because it's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna have to get out like all the pans and you're gonna have to get up into the thing. And why is this not in the recycling? Really? This is my day? Ugh. And I'm gonna have to get out the ladder, and then I'm gonna have to get out the thing, and I'm gonna have to get out the other thing, and things are gonna have to happen before the baking actually happens. So I end up talking myself out of it a lot of times, but, wait, how do I bring a lot? I don't know what I do. I just am. I exist. I don't know, I hang out, I talk to cats, I watch silent movies, I read books, and then, like, I tell myself I'm gonna do a book review video for it, and then I, like, put up another recycling bag for cat food tins. God damn it. Okay. I love this time of year for the baking. Oh, it is a great time for baking because this way you don't have to turn up the heat at all, right? Emerald has to go to bed, unfortunately. Oh, that's alright. That's alright. I don't expect people to stay on very long when, I'm streaming just because, I have, like, no schedule for anything. It's just... Like, what is schedule? Really? I should wait to catch you. Oh my gosh! Back when I was dealing with the whole bedbug fiasco that my ex left me with, I'm sure he thinks he's like not reacting when he sees me on the bus, but he totally does, and he's totally obvious about it. And I wish he knew how ridiculous he looks when he's like jerking his body away from me, like when he gets on the bus. Like things that I would not even notice he got on the bus or something, like if he wasn't doing these like obvious gestures, but whatever. So where was I going with this? I was going somewhere with this. I brought up I don't know. I had a thought and then it wandered away. And it wandered in front of a moving train, and the train couldn't stop in time, and now we will mourn my thought. My friend Sabrina once said that about how my train of thought seems to work. She's just like, your train of thought doesn't derail it. I would degrees this time. That would be nice. I do not like this weather at all. One of these days, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it just yet, but, there's this weird little streak of clairvoyance that seems common to my dad's side of the family, and it comes out in these weird little ways. My Aunt Karen, she had baby dolls, like, you know, most little girls do, especially, you know, as little kids in the 1940s and 50s was when she grew up. You know, when she was little. She was born 1948, I believe. Yeah, so she was a little kid in the 50s. Wait. She was 14 when JFK died, so that would have made her, because her birthday is in January, and he died in November of... I can't remember if it was 62 or 63 when he was shot. But, yeah, I know she was 14 when he died, and I remember that because... said event. But where was I going with this? I don't know. I'll just keep talking about crap. Oh! Anyway, at least with some people. So, yeah, my aunt, you know, like many little girls in the 1950s, she had baby dolls, and like many little kids, you know, like playing make-believe with their various toys, like she gave her dolls, like, personalities and names and ages, and, you know, she had 2 little girl dolls and 1 little boy baby doll, and she said, you know, like, one of the little girl dolls was the oldest, and one of the other little girl dolls was the youngest, and the baby boy was the one in the middle. And she would say to her family, like, you know, this is going to be just like my family when I grow up, and I'm going to have 3, and they're going to be girl, boy, girl, just like that, like my dolls. And that ended up happening. And this is, like, not a thing that you can, like, you know, that you have much choice in the matter, especially when you're having kids in the 70s and early 80s like she did. You know, like, you can't exactly, like, you know, plot your child's, apparent birth sex, and I say it that way even though, like, none of her children have any intersex conditions, but... Roxanne, and I know Roxanne had 3 daughters, and I don't remember if her boy Mickey has any, and I don't remember if her youngest Megan has any, but yeah. And yeah, they were in that order. Like, her kids were born in that order. Girl, boy, girl. And I have this... I don't know. I kind of have this... I don't exactly get premonitions about people who are going to die, but we've, a few of my friends and I have made jokes that, like, I can think of, like, I can be talking about somewhat obscure celebrities, and then, like, within 2 weeks, they die. I mean, it doesn't happen with every time, obviously, but, like, every time it's, like, but every time it does happen, you know, like, somebody will tell me about it and be like, "You killed again!" I'm like, "No!" But, yeah, like, other things, like, things that that I swear, like, I knew it as a kid, and it's, like, it's obviously not a Mandela effect, because it's not something that is, like, it's not, like, for it to be a Mandela effect, it has to be a cultural phenomenon of people believing, you know, this thing, you know, was this way, but it actually wasn't. Like, that's a Mandela effect. When it's just somebody, you know, thinking, oh, this thing happens, you know, this way, or it's going to turn out like this, like, you know, or maybe this thing has already happened. It's like, you know, that's either one person being very wrong or some kind of premonitions that they're having. So, but yeah, it's like, it's weird little things like that. Things that, like, technically would not qualify as Mandela effect. Like, I could have sworn that, oh, who was it? Who was it? I don't know. I don't know now, because I almost wanted to say Richard O'Brien, but I also knew, my brother-in-law, the one that lives in London, he had a lot of friends who were part of the old, West End theater scene, like, which was, like, predominantly gay in the UK, in London especially during the 60s. It was just, like, especially the avant-garde theater. So I kind of knew, because it was like an open secret in that community, that Richard O'Brien basically identified as non-binary, and I knew this, you know, a good 20 years at least before he publicly came out as such. So I'm like, that is the fact that he sees some ways in which he has a similar experience, but he doesn't see the ways in which it's different, so he's kind of self-projecting in that sense. Like, I don't think he, you know, I think he's just, you know, projecting himself a little bit too much onto that. So, I don't, so yeah, like, I know, it's just like, contextually, I don't regard his problematic things he said about trans women the same way as I would coming out of the mouth of, say, Jermaine Greer, who has said things almost identical to what O'Brien says. Like I said, while it's clear from the fact that he said things almost identically to her, that some of this is influence from certain writers, but at the same time, like I said, it's like contextually a different scenario given O'Brien's own relationship with his gender. So, like I said, I think I see some areas where he sees the similarities between his experience and that of a trans woman, but at the same time, he projects, like, his own experience a bit too far, and he cites certain writers who really have no trans experience, you know, to kind of justify his own self-projection. Like I said, I see it, I know that it's problematic for him to say these things, but at the same time, I don't give it the same kind of weight that I would, like I said, like Jermaine Greer or Julie Bindel or whoever else. You know, it's contextually, it's two different things being said when you consider the full context. And I'm not saying that, you know, to excuse transphobia, as some people have told me I'm doing. I'm like, no, I'm recognizing that there are two different people of two very different experiences saying things that on the surface might seem identical, but when you consider the full context, it's like, no, this one person who is cisgender, like, yes, it is absolutely a worse problem when they say that because, you know, they are not even, you know, a non-transitioning, non-binary person. Whereas O'Brien has said he's on a low dose of some form of hormones. I don't remember what, but I know he's on a low dose, and he's fine with that, and he sees no need to go any further than that. Okay, fine. But, yeah, you know, Richard O'Brien himself is a somewhat transitioned, non-binary person, meaning that, you know, he in his case, he identifies, to some extent with both men and women, and, to a lesser extent, but one that is still important enough for him to, remark on, as neither of the above. So, yeah, I'm not gonna, like, assume much of his experiences, but, obviously he was dysphoric enough that the dose of hormones he's been on for about the last decade at this point is doing him more good than not. Okay, that's fine, that's fair. But yeah, it's like, it's two completely different situations when, you know, like, seemingly identical things said by two different people have two completely different contexts, given the experiences of each individual who is saying it. So, yeah, I'll say it. Like, Richard O'Brien, when he says things like, you know, a trans woman is, you know, living the image of a woman without the full experience of a woman, okay, like, yeah, I'm not, like, especially as a guy, I'm not gonna tell women, like, what their experiences must be, okay? I'm not going to reach myself that far, especially when O'Brien has said, hold on, that he considers his gender something like, 60% male, 30% woman, and 10% indefinable. Okay, fine, you know, that suggests he considers, you know, his gender, like, you know, more male than anything else, either way, but okay, like, but still, it's like, I do see where, you know, because he does consider part of his gender to be so, you know, significantly, aligned with womanhood. Like I said, it's two different things. It's two different things, and I was going somewhere with this. I brought up Richard O'Brien for a reason, and I was going somewhere with this, and then I started ranting about, oh, right, I was talking about, various, like oddly premonition or clairvoyant kind of experiences. Because, yeah, like, I knew, like, I wanted to say Richard O'Brien was somebody that I knew was gay before, or, like, and I say gay in this instance, like, very loosely as, like, you know, like, shorthand for LGBT, but whatever. So, yeah, like, I knew he was somehow, like, well, of course he's also been, like, openly bisexual pretty much his entire career, too, so, like, that, and plus, like, my brother-in-law, had friends who were part of old 60s, gay theater, so, kind of a secret, and since at least the Rocky Horror film came out, so, yeah, that's not something that I was being that's not a premonition that I had. So Rich O'Brien would not have been a premonition of any sort because, you know, I actually legit knew that. In fact, like, I knew that so hard. Yeah, I knew that was I knew that was an open secret to the point where I genuinely believed that, like, he had said as much in interviews, but apparently people who spend a lot of time looking this shit up and all that were just like, no, he didn't officially come out as non-binary until I think 2011, 2010, something like that. I know it was shortly before I moved back to Lansing. I know I was living in back to Ipsy. I know I was living in Lansing at the time. But yeah, I am not sure who the hell I'm thinking of that, like, I could smell the gayness on them. Like, and somehow it surprised so many people, but... So yeah, it wouldn't have been Rich O'Brien. Definitely not George Michael. I was like when George Michael came out as gay, no, he came out as bisexual with a huge preference for men. And I'm like, did you even need to, huh? Like, did you need to? Like, everybody just kind of assumed that anyway. So, yeah, that's a thing that happened. Okay, apparently I've only got one person left watching the stream, so I'm going to close this off now, seeing as the dishes are pretty much done, and I could probably stand to eat my leftover stuffed pepper, maybe do my my Welsh refresher course some more before it turns midnight and all of that. So, if anybody wants to watch this in the archive later, bats and kisses, wear your sunscreen and all of that, and have the exact kind of day you deserve. And as always, feel free to hit the thumb icons to denote your enjoyment or lack thereof with all of my nonsense. And what's the other thing I usually say? Subscribe if you haven't yet, that would be nice. Hit the bell notifications if you want your phone to scream at you whenever I feel like whenever I feel like uploading a video or doing a live stream or some kind of nonsense like that. And if you have more dollars than cents, I've got I should have a PayPal tip jar or in the description box after this goes into archive mode, and all of my videos should also have a Patreon link where I will be I will get at least something a little bit closer to a decent enough income. And oh, there we go. Okay, I got about 21 minutes left of this bread. Let me see how it's going so far with the rising. Ooh, that's rising nicely. Okay, bats and kisses, and take care of yourselves so much. And really, Murnau, you gotta throw newspapers all over the kitchen? Really?
You gots to? You gots to?
I know. We're just such a sweet little critter. We are. You want to say goodbye to the lovely people, hun? You want to? Apparently there's just like one people. Do you?